Hello and welcome to Farm Connections. I'm your host, Dan Hoffman. On today's episode, we meet Dan Miller of Valley Angus to discuss his approach to agritourism and running his family business. We also spend some time learning about water and soil conservation with extension expert Bailey Tangen in Goodhue County. All here today on Farm Connections.
Welcome to Farm Connections with your host, Dan Hoffman.
Farm Connections' premier sponsor is Minnesota Corn.
Programming supported by Minnesota Corn, working to identify and promote opportunities for corn growers, enhance quality of life, and help others understand the value and importance of corn production to America's economy.
Additional support from the following sponsors.
Programming supported by R&S Grain Systems, a family-owned business serving its customers for 50 years with leading designs in the manufacturing of grain handling equipment and grain storage systems. You can call them for a quote today.
Programming supported by EDP Renewables North America, owner-operator of Prairie Star and Pioneer Prairie Wind Farms in Minnesota and Iowa. EDPR wind farms and solar parks provide income to farmers and help power rural economies across the continent.
Mower County Farm Bureau Association, a KSMQ broadcast sponsor, advocates for agriculture based on the policies and beliefs of its members. It's dedicated to making the voices of its members stronger. You can learn more about membership benefits at fbmn.org.
Program supported by employee-owned AgVantage Software, Rochester, Minnesota, celebrating their 50th year designing and developing agribusiness software for grain elevators, feed manufacturers, producers, fertilizer and chemical dealers, co-ops, seed companies, and fuel distributors.
Welcome to Farm Connections. We're at the Valley Angus farm near Spring Valley, Minnesota with the owner, Dan Miller. Dan, thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming to visit, Dan.
What a beautiful place.
Well, thanks for being here.
So, when did you buy this?
I bought it in August 11th of 93. I had to think for a minute, but yeah, it's been a while, but it's been a lot of fun and it's been a good learning experience.
Well, it's a beautiful setting, and if I understand it right, you raised some good kids here too.
I did. I raised 6 kids.
And a puppy.
And a puppy. I raised 6 kids that are all 21 to 28 now, and so they're on their own. 3 of them farm with me, Dan. They so they're in their 20s, but 2 boys and a daughter farm with me here, and we raise about 1,300 acres of crops: soybeans, corn, alfalfa, and then about a couple hundred Angus cattle, and we're about 40% organic and 70% conventional.
We've spent some time here this morning walking through the farm and the pasture, and behind us is a beautiful creek. Where's that source? What is it named?
Yeah, Spring Valley Creek is right behind us, and it originates just, we're about 3 miles northeast of Spring Valley. It originates just west of town. And it's spring fed, goes through Spring Valley and then comes out here, and yeah, it's really clean. There's trout in it, brown, rainbow, and brook trout, so it's a fun spot.
Nice. It's really great, and I'm sure it's gratifying to the previous owner that the farm is being used in a way to sustain life, your family, but also give life to other people in terms of food, right?
Yep. Yeah, we stay in touch, and I think they're very happy with what we're doing.
Well, beyond raising food, you sometimes share the farm with other people. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, we've kind of expanded into agritourism, so we do some Airbnb and Vrbo here, and so people can come and stay, and we do hay rides, and just, people like to see the pastures, the cattle, and the whole harvest and planting seasons. And there's even things in the winter, sledding, sledding, hot chocolate, that kind of stuff. And so people like that. So we've enjoyed that. It's amazing what kind of folks you meet. It's been a real pleasure to meet a lot of people. And so we've really enjoyed that aspect.
What's the most interesting thing that's happened with your guests?
Well, we haven't really had any train wrecks or any bad things. Probably the most notable thing is I've had people come from, certainly from a local area, but the Twin Cities a lot. But I'm surprised how many international folks come. Some from France, Europe, Belgium, and it's been a real learning experience for me to interact with those folks. India, we had about 15 people here from that actually they've been in the United States in the Twin Cities for like 2 years, but they're from India, and just despite the, like we were talking, despite the fact that they don't eat beef, I guess, they really liked the beef cattle. The kids were really enjoying seeing the calves and stuff. So,
What's the main reason someone would come here for agritourism? What are they after?
I think people that have an ag background, sometimes if they've been away from the farm, nostalgia, if they grew up on a farm, and then relaxation. It's really quiet, like this morning, very, very quiet. Like you said, you can hear the creek. So the relaxation, I think, is for those folks. And then folks that want to see the farm or have no prior involvement with farming really like to come and just see what is farming in the Midwest like. What is beef and crop farming in the Midwest like? And they generally have a very low knowledge of farming, but they're really interesting to meet, and they learn a lot, and they really enjoy it. They give me good reviews, so I appreciate that.
That is excellent.
Yeah, that helps.
What's the most memorable question that a guest has asked?
Oh, they ask all sorts of things. Just things like, how long is gestation in cattle? Well, about 9 months. When do you usually breed them, and when do they have their calves? When do you wean? Well, we wean in about 6 months of age. And then what do you feed them? Do you feed them more grass or more concentrate, grain, and so forth? A lot of those kind of questions with the cattle. And then crops, I show them, okay, here's shelled out soybeans. This is what soybeans actually look like in the plant. And so a lot of good questions.
Excellent. Do you have a website, or how do people find out about this place?
Yeah, we have a website. We're on Airbnb and Vrbo, the vacation rental by owner sites. And then we have a website too. We also sell beef. We sell beef by the, steaks or ground beef or roast too. So, and we can sell halves and quarters and wholes too, whatever people like.
There's a lot going on today too. You told us earlier, and we saw some machinery moving through the yard. What is happening today on the Miller farm?
Well, today we're actually combining corn. We finished the organic corn yesterday, and so we're on conventional corn today, and we're selling. We sell it. We'll take it right to the market, right to Ostrander's, our local market, or Wyckoff. So we're just got two semis and some gravity boxes and 2 combines. So we're enjoying that, and it's just a gorgeous day to be out here.
I think I heard you earlier communicating with a drone pilot.
Oh, that's the other thing, yeah. On another farm, we've got, we're putting cover crops on with the drone broadcast, the seed. And that's something we just started this last year. I'd never had a drone on the place, but that worked out well for using cover crops. That's been kind of a new thing with conservation benefits. We can harvest the winter rye is what we use. Primarily, we can harvest it as hay. We can graze the cattle on it or turn it under as a green manure. I like to, definitely conservation's important to us. I was Conservation Farmer of the Year in 1998 in Fillmore County, and we want to maintain that level of conservation. Take good care of the ground and leave it better for the next generation than when we started.
The cover crop does some things to the soil. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the biggest thing is covering it if we get a lot of wind, and providing so we don't get wind erosion and soil erosion. And then the other thing is just keeping biology and life in the soil and rejuvenating nutrients, holding nutrients. So it's an increasing thing. Soil and Water Conservation District cost shares on it, even up to a certain level of acres. So we've adopted that, and I think it's good.
I'm guessing you're the kind of guy that goes out once in a while and digs in that soil, looks for earthworms, and checks the texture of the soil?
Yeah, we kind of try to monitor fairly closely, make sure we're doing a good job. And there's other folks, SWCD, agronomists that help us too. So it's a team effort. And then my kids, you know.
I so respect that you call it soil. I hear people call it dirt. Dirt's on the kitchen floor, we sweep it. Soil's on Dan Miller and other people's farms, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a growing, living, breathing thing.
That's where it all starts.
Well, Dan, you're already very busy in agriculture and also agritourism, but I know you take some time to volunteer and be in other organizations. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I enjoy. I've been on several things. I'm chairman of the board of the Midwest Forage Association, the largest hay grower group in the U.S., and I enjoy that. I've always liked forages. I was a forage specialist in Wisconsin for the university. And then all the Cattlemen's Association, the Farm Bureau, Farmers Union, and a number of things. I was in Washington working on the Farm Bill last week a little bit, which that's kind of unusual, but I have done it before. So I like to be involved and learn, keep learning, lifelong learning. That's where it's at.
Absolutely. Well, certainly there's many topics often about international trade, about agricultural commodities. What's happening recently?
Well, the prices, of course, of crops are low, historically low. Corn is low, soybeans are low, alfalfa is actually low, but beef is all-time record high. So those Angus steers that are about to go to market, I have sold some of that pen. They're probably they're the highest I've ever received for beef. So, you know, it's, as you know, Dan, it's up and down, it's a cycle. But that's one reason I think it's beneficial to be diversified and have different enterprises if we can. And this farm is conducive with the permanent pasture on parts of it for beef. You really should have beef on a farm like this, I think.
Absolutely. And Dan, you talked a little bit earlier about gestation in beef, and that ties into the cycles of the market as well. If I raise a chicken in a few months or a few weeks, I can have that chicken on the market, right?
Yeah.
What happens in the beef industry?
Well, in our case, we do cow-calf, you know, so we'll raise that calf, you know, the 9-month gestation. We wean them in 6 months, and then we feed them. I have done grass-fed beef, but right now we're doing more grain for about 12 months. So wean them at 6 months, and then intensively feed them to get a high rate of gain for about 12 months. And then they're ready for processing. So that works out well.
It's a long time period though. It's 18 months, and you've got a gestation in there of about 9 months. And the cow that gives birth to that calf is how old usually? The first calf? First calf?
2 years.
2 years. So we got 2
years.
We've almost got 4 years into this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you had to put all that money into it to start with, feed it, house it.
It's true. Yeah.
So has that impacted the size of our beef cow herd?
Yeah, and we have had a number of years of low returns to beef, so it has shrunk the herd down. It's gotten to be quite an issue now just recently, the size of the beef herd, and now it's low, and retaining heifers, people have not been retaining a lot of heifers in the last few years due to the low profitability. But that pendulum is maybe going to swing. I don't know, but like you said, it takes a long time from that decision to retain a heifer calf. You know, you retain her this year, you breed her at 15 months at puberty, she has a calf at 24 months, and then 9 months for gestation, and then another 1.5 years to have a fat animal to harvest and produce high quality beef for a hungry population.
And that whole time you had to feed your family too.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
So you don't just say, I'm going to be a beef farmer today, a beef cow farmer, and raise calves and be quickly into the business usually.
Yeah, no, the turnover, it takes time, like you said.
The other part, maybe you can elaborate on, the talent, the human talent, the effort it takes to be a beef cattle producer. Do we have lots of those people coming up? Are they aging out? What's happening?
Well, I think there's definitely, there's young people. I mean, I have a BS in animal science, and I've always been involved with beef. I grew up on a dairy farm too, but the young people, there's young folks, you know, my kids, but I see a lot of young people. The future is not, you can get negative easy, but the future is going to be bright.
Wonderful. What other advice do you have to young aspiring people in the agriculture field?
Prepare yourselves, educate yourselves, learn, work, you know, mentor with people, learn in the field, you know, save up, try to build equity, and you can do it. It's feasible. You can grow into the business, and it takes perseverance, and it takes preparation in combination with opportunity. And if you can combine those two variables, the likelihood of success is pretty good.
Dan, what do you most hope people take away from the farm when they come here for an agritourism tour?
Oh, I think the biggest thing is to gain an appreciation for where food comes from, and in a relationship with a farm producer, because they're like, oh, this guy is a real farmer. You'd be surprised. Oh, yeah. You know, they don't necessarily meet real farmers. Yeah, I am. And some of the kids, it's funny, they'll say, Farmer Dan. You know, they call me Farmer Dan. But I think appreciation of where their food comes from, and knowing a farmer, and just seeing what farming is all like, and beautiful nature, getting out in the countryside.
Wonderful, and thanks so much for taking some time to share with us.
Well, thanks for coming to visit, Dan.
You're welcome. Stay tuned for more on Farm Connections. Welcome to Farm Connections. We're near Goodhue, Minnesota on the Ed McNamara farm for a wonderful field day on soil health. And with me today is an expert from the University of Minnesota, Bailey Tangen. Welcome to our show.
Hi, thanks for having me. Glad I could be on.
Bailey, this was a wonderful field event today, and you've been very helpful with it. What's it called and what's it all about?
Yeah, so this was great. We were working with Ed McNamara on this field day where we were looking at planting green, so planting a cash crop into a standing cover crop. So working with the Goodhue County Soil and Water Conservation District, U of M Extension, and local farmers in the area to see the do's and the don'ts of this practice.
Why is it important?
Ooh, so this is really important because we have a lot of interest in growing cover crops on the landscape. We don't like to see our soil blowing off or eroding with these rains that we're getting, and trying to keep living roots in the ground for as long as we possibly can, getting as much cover crop biomass as we can, because that's really important for adding organic matter back to the soil, feeding the soil biology, creating pore space within your soil, and creating soil structure, which is really important in determining when a raindrop falls, where's it gonna go? Is it gonna run off and carry some soil, or is it gonna go through your soil to your crop?
Well, I watched you when you got into the soil pit and you took out a tool, a knife, and cut and looked and dissected the soil and looked for things. What were you looking for?
Ooh, so I love soil structure. Everyone should too, because it's so important for determining the pore space for your roots, for the soil biology. So I was looking to see if I could see any earthworm channels, because when we till our soils, we're disrupting. So if you think of the pore as like a straw, we're disrupting that straw, and so water doesn't really easily go down. So I was looking for the pores. I was looking for roots in the soil to see if there was any plow pans or compaction layers, seeing how strong the soil was, and moisture as well, and just, yeah, looking at soil texture and lots of other goodies.
And what did you find?
Ooh, I found some really cool vertical pores into the soil. I think I showed you, we found some nice soil biology. We kind of interrupted their sleep, it seemed like. He was tucked away in one of the pores, and that was wonderful. And we were on a fence line, and so, yeah, there was pretty good soil structure, especially in that topsoil, which was nice to see, because that's going to be kind of falls in line with what we're trying to do here, which is, yeah, keeping the roots in the ground is really helping with your soil structure and increasing the water availability for your crops.
Well, very well said. And when you were finding that soil biology, you were approximately 3 feet from the surface.
Oh, we were deep. Yeah, we were kneeling down in that thing. So, yeah, that was cool to see.
So, Bailey, what happens when you're in the soil pit or looking beneath the surface or even at the surface and you don't find biology? You don't find anything except maybe dirt.
Yeah, I typically would never use the word dirt to describe soil, but in the case where there's no biology, it's sort of like dirt, right? Soil's a living ecosystem. It should have lots of biology, and the more beneficial biology that you have and a better food web, you get better nutrient cycling and organic matter turnover. Hopefully that's adding back to your soil, and just a healthier ecosystem overall for the crops. And you're hoping that those beneficial biology can take care of some of those pests that might show up.
Well, again, well said. As soon as you mentioned that, I'm reflecting back to a soil science class and my soil science professor at the University of Minnesota.
Oh.
And he said, dirt's what you sweep up on the kitchen floor, soil's what we grow things in. We grow our food.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So true. And I think of a sandbox versus a garden, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, having good organic matter, it's so critical. Having and no, not all soil types are the exact same. You know, if you've got really sandy soil, you're dealing with different types of resource concerns than someone who's got really high clay soils. But in the end of the day, it should all be this living ecosystem. It's an extension of what you're managing for a good, healthy crop.
You did talk a little bit about soil movement. So if we've got soil movement with water, or soil movement with water, what's the consequence?
Ooh. Well, so for a farmer, I mean, you could be losing valuable nutrients that you're applying, and also the organic matter that's held within that topsoil. You know, we're not making more soil within our lifetimes, really, so it's important to keep what we have and make sure it doesn't run downstream and end up on someone else's property. They'll get the benefits, and you know, you kind of lose out there. So not only for your own fields and crops are there potential issues, but then also for the watershed. You know, we want to drink clean water, and when we're sending our soil and nutrients downstream, it's expensive and difficult to treat that. So ultimately, keeping your soil in place has so many benefits to you, the crop, to everyone who drinks the water.
Protecting the value of the farm,
Oh,
and
yeah.
protecting our resources, water and soil both.
I think about the long-term productivity of our soils a lot. You know, we often plan on an annual basis, but it's a really important in 30 years from today, what's the soil going to be like? In 5 years from today, what's the soil going to be like? And I work a lot on these soil health practices and helping farmers try them out, implement them, and do it successfully. And so for me, yeah, protecting the soil, keeping it in place, adding organic matter, beneficial to everyone. So yeah, we do a lot of planning on our fields at the annual scale, thinking year to year, even day to day. But I think about soil productivity in the long run. You know, what's the soil going to be like in a year from now, 5 years, 30 years from now? So thinking about while we are trying these soil health practices today, we really start to see those benefits accumulate over time. And so, you know, you get some benefits, and then eventually you get even more benefits over time. And what we do today does have an impact on our fields now, but also into the future.
You talked about it, and other speakers talked about it today, but the water holding ability of the soil, why is it important, and how do we improve it?
Yeah, so since starting my job about 1.5 years ago, and also doing a grad school degree since 2021, I've seen some really wild weather years, and I'm sure we'll see some increases in that as well. And so it's all about trying to protect your crop and give it the best conditions possible. And so by increasing the pore space and organic matter in your soils, you can increase the water holding capacity and the ability to infiltrate water. So not only how much water you can hold, but how much water can actually infiltrate. It's going to be increasingly even more important as we get these dry spells and then really, really wet times, because you want water to move into the profile and not just sit there on top of a plow pan. You know, you really want it to get it to the roots. So it's going to be something that I'm happy to talk about at any point. Love thinking about water and soil. Always happy to help farmers increase their water holding capacity.
Yeah, and you do well at it. Can you tell us a little bit about how you started down this career path? You mentioned 1.5 years ago you came to the University of Minnesota.
Yeah, so growing up, I'm from Minnesota, but I'm from Lakeville, so kind of more on the edge of a suburb and farmland. And so it was interesting to see that growing up, and I started working at parks and taking more environmental courses and just learning more about how do we use land in Minnesota. And so farming is incredibly important to many, many people and over many acres. So for me, it was all about helping people, trying to protect our landscapes and protect these family businesses, and yeah, do better for the today's, but then also into the future, because we all will have kids potentially. So
Thank you, Bailey.
yeah, it's great to talk to you.
That does it for now. I'm Dan Hoffman. Thanks for joining us here on Farm Connections.
Farm Connection's premier sponsor is Minnesota Corn.
Programming supported by Minnesota Corn, working to identify and promote opportunities for corn growers, enhance quality of life, and help others understand the value and importance of corn production to America's economy.
Additional support from the following sponsors.
Programming supported by R&S Grain Systems, a family-owned business serving its customers for 50 years with leading designs in the manufacturing of grain handling equipment and grain storage systems. You can call him for a quote today.
Programming supported by EDP Renewables North America, owner-operator of Prairie Star and Pioneer Prairie wind farms in Minnesota and Iowa. EDPR wind farms and solar parks provide income to farmers and help power rural economies across the continent.
Mower County Farm Bureau Association, a KSMQ broadcast sponsor, advocates for agriculture based on the policies and beliefs of its members. It's dedicated to making the voices of its members stronger. You can learn more about membership benefits at fbmn.org.
Program supported by employee-owned AgVantage Software, Rochester, Minnesota, celebrating their 50th year designing and developing agribusiness software for grain elevators, feed manufacturers, producers, fertilizer and chemical dealers, co-ops, seed companies, and fuel distributors.